You show up early, coffee in hand, ready to give your best. You finish projects on time, admit mistakes when they happen, and assume that integrity is the surest path to recognition. Then the announcement flashes across your inbox. The promotion went to someone louder, someone who bends the rules, someone who manages perception better than truth. The meeting room buzzes with polite congratulations, but in the hallway you feel the sting. Again, how can honesty feel like a liability in a society that claims to value it? Centuries ago, Niccolò Machiavelli offered an unsettling answer. Power respects appearances, not virtues, and the game is rigged for those who understand that difference. Machiavelli spent his life watching courtiers maneuver for survival in the turbulent courts of Renaissance Italy, and the lesson he drew is as unnerving now as it was then. Human nature, he argued, is steadied less by ethics than by fear and desire. We admire fairness as an idea, yet we respond far more predictably to confidence, status symbols, or the promise of advantage. That doesn't mean people consciously set out to deceive in every interaction. It means that beneath our curated morals lies a constant assessment of risk and reward. Most citizens will sing the praises of honesty at the Sunday dinner table, but on Monday morning they will follow the coworker who projects certainty, even if that certainty leans on half-truths. Look around modern life, and you can see the scaffolding of Machiavelli's insight everywhere. Political campaigns flood social feeds with talk of transparency, yet their war rooms arm themselves with polling data to craft messages engineered to capture emotions first and facts second. A smiling candidate promises clean governance while quietly courting donors whose priorities will shape policy behind closed doors. In boardrooms, multinational companies unveil glossy sustainability reports, showcasing tree planting programs even as they suppress research on the environmental cost of their core products. The brochure screams virtue. The balance sheet whispers reality. Employees attend mandatory ethics seminars at 10 o'clock, then watch management/benefits at 10:30 in the name of shareholder value. The disconnect feels shocking until you remember Machiavelli's central observation. Systems reward whatever safeguards their own survival, not the ideals they publicly celebrate. Zoom in on the average office and the pattern sharpens. Two colleagues compete for the same leadership role. One keeps her head down, delivers solid results, and credits the team in every update. The other narrates every minor success on social media, forms alliances with key managers, and volunteers for high-visibility tasks that frame him as indispensable. Performance reviews come around, and the second candidate's narrative fills the room long before his actual achievements are dissected. Is he more competent? Possibly, but competence alone didn't win the day. Storytelling did. Just as Renaissance courtiers learned to dress their ambitions in the language of virtue, contemporary professionals learn to dress ambition in the language of collaboration, innovation, or purpose. When perception drives resource allocation, the stage goes to those who master the script. Why then do honest people so often feel punished for doing everything right? Humility, loyalty, and candid feedback can be invisible commodities. They matter, but they don't flash. People who bend the rules often end up writing them because they are willing to test boundaries the honest assume are fixed. A marketing executive exaggerates quarterly projections and lands a larger budget. If the gamble pays off, she is hailed as bold. If it fails, she spins the narrative to deflect blame. A startup founder inflates user numbers during funding rounds, secure in the knowledge that investor fear of missing out will muffle skepticism. These tactics succeed not because the world secretly hates honesty, but because systems built on competition default to mechanisms, visibility, momentum, and the promise of gain that privilege the strategic over the sincere. The paradox is that honesty is still valued, just not in the way you might hope. It functions like a brand attribute, great for public-facing moments, expendable when hard choices threaten power. Politicians emphasize their humble origins when rallying votes. Corporations highlight philanthropic donations during crises, and influencers showcase unfiltered authenticity in perfectly lit vlogs. Honesty is displayed like a storefront sign, signaling trustworthiness, yet the real transactions take place in the storeroom of calculated interests. If you rely solely on the sign, you're playing by rules that operate mostly in the brochure. So what can an honest person do? Abandon principle and join the ranks of manipulators? Not necessarily. Machiavelli never claimed that virtue is useless. He argued that virtue must be armed with prudence. In his terms, the successful ruler blends the traits of lion and fox, courage to confront danger, cunning to recognize traps. Translate that to modern life and the message rings clear. Be strategic with your integrity. Truth told at the wrong moment can sabotage a project. Silence held too long can erode trust. The art lies in discerning which battles require frankness and which call for tactical restraint. Start by reading power dynamics as carefully as you read job descriptions. Who actually makes decisions in your workplace? The person with the official title or the informal influencer who shapes consensus over coffee breaks? Whose endorsement amplifies your contributions, and whose criticism can stall your progress? Mapping the flow of influence does not compromise your honesty, it equips it. When you understand the channels through which recognition travels, you can position your work where integrity has a chance to be seen and rewarded. Next, craft your image proactively instead of leaving it to chance. This doesn't mean manufacturing a false persona. It means articulating your values and achievements in a language others readily absorb. The humble coder who quietly fixes critical bugs may need to translate those fixes into stories that reveal the stakes, customer trust preserved, revenue protected, to ensure leadership hears the impact. Visibility isn't vanity, it's a currency. Spend it to spotlight honest effort before someone else hijacks the narrative. Finally, understand that timing is part of truth. There are moments when speaking up serves the greater good, and moments when a measured pause secures a more sustainable win. The whistleblower who reveals fraud only after documenting evidence, building allies, and securing legal guidance is not less virtuous than the one who blurts everything on day one. She is potentially more effective. Strategic honesty is not moral compromise. It is moral endurance. If all of this feels exhausting, that's because competing inside complex systems has always demanded more than technical skill. But take heart. You can wield strategy without abandoning character. You can learn the language of power without letting it rewrite your core. There is strength in knowing how the game operates, even if you choose to play it differently. Imagine integrity not as a fragile glass that shatters under pressure, but as tempered steel, flexible enough to absorb impact, resilient enough to retain its shape. When the next promotion cycle rolls around, do more than cross your fingers. Document achievements, align them with organizational goals, and seek mentors who can advocate on your behalf. When a colleague tries to take credit for your idea, counter with calm evidence and allies ready to confirm the timeline. When upper management touts transparency yet hides key metrics, request data publicly and propose solutions that make opacity uncomfortable. Each move combines honesty with leverage, truth with timing. None of this guarantees immediate victory. Machiavelli would remind us that fortune favors the prepared, yet remains fickle. But strategic integrity raises the odds, and over time, raises the standard. Colleagues notice when the candid voice is also the effective one, when the principled stand also yields results. Systems evolve through pressure, and principled players who understand leverage become that pressure. So if you're staring at another headline announcing someone's meteoric rise and wondering why your steady commitment lags behind, resist the urge to trade your values for shortcuts. Instead, upgrade your approach. See perception as a tool, not a betrayal. See timing as a partner, not a compromise. See power dynamics as a map, not a moral verdict. Honesty is still a formidable force, but in a world tuned to signals of authority, it must be broadcast wisely. You work hard, you tell the truth, you play fair. Keep doing those things. Just remember that virtues shine brightest when they are placed where light actually reaches. Learn the angles, anticipate the shadows, and position your integrity so it can be seen, felt, and rewarded. That is the new kind of strength, principled, perceptive, and impossible to ignore.